Yes, guys, welcome back to SFeatleyTV. We are live for the liver awareness show. Chance for us to share about liver disease awareness for childhood liver disease for CLDF, whilst also raising any causes that you might want to come on and raise. I've got my good, very old friend from hospital that I've known for many years now. He's had multiple transplants like myself, but he's only had 2, so I beat him by ×3. So I've got Joseph, you're on mute, mate. You're on mute.
Here we go.
Yeah, there you go. How are you, my friend?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you, Stephen. How are you?
I'm all right. It's been a while, but yeah, we've known each other since what, 2012, 2013?
Yeah, 2013 I came in for my second op. So as long ago as that, and you've had a couple more since then as well, haven't you?
yeah, I've had another 2. Right, so it's pretty mad, but
I think you were 4
man.
months in 2013, and that was like quite an achievement. So
yeah,
now you're 6th or your 7th, is it?
We're almost 6 now.
Blimey.
We ain't going any further. I ain't doing that.
No,
no, not if I can help it.
Yeah.
So, I thought I might start. I was going to start with obviously my story, but it's like hectic. But I wondered if you want to share your story with liver disease and how it all started for you, mate.
Yeah, cool. I had a rare genetic disorder called Wilson's disease, and that sort of meant that at age 11, 12, 13 I got seriously unwell, and it was unexpected as well. There was no history of it in the family, no one was looking out for it, the doctor wasn't aware of it, and suddenly became seriously unwell, and I was in King's. That's back in 2001. So that's sort of old school King's before the new big wing opened up, that big building. Is it what's the building called? It's
Hambledon Wing.
Yeah, is that what it's called? That big building with the steps.
The old building. Yeah.
And then you got the new one.
You got the Hambledon Wing. Then it
Jubilee
was,
Wing.
Yeah, the Jubilee Wing is the new building.
That's the one I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was there before that was built, and
that's how bad we know the hospital. That's just how bad it is.
Well, so are you, obviously, as well. You've been there your whole life as well, and so yeah, no, it was crazy, really. And I was fortunate to get my transplant. Yeah, I remember going into King's, and I'd spent a couple of weeks in Portsmouth in the local hospital, and they failed to diagnose me. Did all sorts of tests. I went up to King's in an ambulance with the sort of blues and twos on. Got to King's in the middle of the night. It was fireworks night, I remember. And, a specialist looked at me and said,
"You've got to go out with a bang."
Yeah, well, that was it. And, he took one look at me, and a telltale sign of Wilson's is, I think they're called Fleischer rings in your eyes. I might be wrong on that. But it's basically the copper build-up from Wilson's disease shows itself in the eyes and the irises. And the specialist looked in my eyes and saw that and said, well, that's what the mystery is. Mystery solved. You've got Wilson's disease. They thought it might have been autoimmune hepatitis or hepatitis C or whatever. So, gave me the care they could. And, sort of I bumbled along for a couple of weeks and then got to that point where you fall off a cliff. And fortunately, I got my liver, got my organ, and I was transplanted. And I remember the intensive care, it wasn't even a full ward. It was just the end of... was it Mountbatten? The ward was called.
Mountbatten ward.
You were there.
Ward, yeah.
And you probably well remember the intensive care ward was just a sort of end bit of Mountbatten, and it was just a little.
You came around the corner and you went through the door, and literally on your left, on the right was the kitchen. On the left, you had the intensive care, and it meant you only had about 9 beds on the actual ward itself.
Yeah. So, and it was only about 9 beds on the ward itself, and it hadn't changed much in years. It was pretty dated in there. But you know what? Yeah, it was great. I he was
a shithole.
It was a shithole, but he had the best, the best doctors. I can remember one of the professors, Amelia Vergani, I think her name was, Italian.
Professor Vergani, yeah.
And she was amazing. Gave us all the time in the world. And I
What I
remember,
loved is you could put a letter through her door, and if they were mucking around, and she would just come on them like a ton of bricks and put them in order.
yeah, no, she was the boss lady.
I think when I was 11, we were winding her up because Arsenal were in the Champions League and we beat Juventus, which is the team she was following. So when they did that, she was like, "Oh, for God's sake!"
Well, you know, and yeah, no. So I remember we got to the end of, I got to the sort of point where I was starting to get a bit better, and the professor just sort of took one look at me and said, "Well, why are you still here, Joseph? You can go," and that was it. I didn't even get any more, feedback, advice than that. She just looked at me and said, "Well, why are you even still here?" And that was it. I got to pack my bags and go home. And I think if memory serves me rightly, made it home just in time for Christmas too. So, I was very fortunate in that case.
Yeah, definitely.
And similar to yourself, I was operated on by the prof.
Yeah, Prof Eaton, yeah. Obviously his pictures in the thumbnail there. New intro comment for that's my graphics. I call him my graphics designer. He does all the thumbnails,
He did
the
that.
intros, and
He did that intro that we just saw because that was nice.
yeah. And he ain't satisfied. He wants to bring a new one out.
Wow.
And he's always playing with it. He's brilliant.
Must
Talk
be
Manu, if you come on at some point, that he'll probably come on at some point.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, Billy, how are you, mate? But yeah, you had the second transplant 2013, and
yeah, that's right.
Exactly what happened to that exactly?
So long story short, I think the first transplant was 2001. The second was in 2013, and there's no sort of definitive shelf life on a transplant. So
I wish there was.
yeah, it just happened to be that for whatever reason it got to
When
a
I mean
point.
definitive shelf life, I mean like ever.
Yeah, well, maybe in the future with technology and advances in technology and stuff, and cloning organs and growing organs synthetically, but for whatever reason, that's how long it lasted. So I just with that one, I was a bit older, I didn't have the care around me, and I just sort of thought, oh, I'll probably get a bit better, and I was enjoying my life, enjoying being a young man and doing all the things that young men do, my own business, motorbikes, going out on dates and stuff like that. And unfortunately I just got more and more unwell. It didn't go away, it got worse. So that was the point where I took myself I took myself to my local hospital, and they put me on a generic gastroenterology ward. And I was surrounded by old men, like very seriously unwell people in the middle of the night, and it was horrific. And I just had to discharge myself one day, and I ran out the hospital sort of thing and made my way up to King's. And that was a similar situation. They just sort of looked at me, and I think that was Professor Heenahan, and another well-respected, one of the good guys, top professor. And he just sort of said, well, you're going to be unwell, mate, so let's hope we can sort you out. And because he does sort of say it how it is as well, so it was like, well, okay. So
sometimes I prefer a doctor like that. I don't know about you, but I prefer a doctor to probably tell you that's how it is.
Yes, it was just that he was like, you're going to be unwell, so okay. And I remember, I didn't at that point I was fit and healthy, and what I felt I was, I had serious symptoms, like diarrhea, jaundice in the eyes, the things that mean you're unwell. But I was fit, I had weight on me, and I had energy, and I was just stuck in a hospital bed all day, and I was like, I don't belong here. So it was really weird. But then within weeks,
I think that's where I run into you, and it was like, you were like, oh, just don't know why I'm here, to be honest.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? But then you either at that point, and then you get to the point where you're just not aware of where you are because you're so unwell. So
because also you get the encephalopathy that kicks in with it because of the jaundice you get. So,
well, it's in your brain and so on. So that So
do you want to just describe like what encephalopathy? Because obviously I have to fight that at the minute, day to day. Just want to see it from your perspective.
Yeah, right. So
because it's hard to understand for people who don't have it.
Yeah,
So
so in its most serious form, it's psychosis, you know, because your brain's not working properly, and that's not fun. Um, but you know, it's almost like brain damage. You know, it just your brain just breaks down. The toxins, you know, uh, aren't getting filtered out properly by your intestines, your liver, your digestive system. So everything you eat, everything you drink, all those toxins build up and they make their way into your brain. And so it's almost like sepsis or blood poisoning. You're just poisoning yourself, and it's quite scary. So at first you're just a bit dithery, and then they've got a test where they test your hands to see how much they shake. And at first they'll shake a little, and as you get more and more unwell, then the shaking gets worse until the point where you can't even hold your arms still. So it's quite scary, but yeah, that's part of.
what's worse as well is then in terms of your mood, your behaviour, you turn into like a different sort of person. And so like someone who's really like the nicest person on the planet, and will do anything for anyone.
Exactly.
It sort of automatically it turns, and you become irritable, bad-tempered. You react really, really easily to things, and just
mood swing, almost like being a teenager, but times 10.
Because you can see it, and you're like, "That's not me," and but you've got no control over it.
Yeah, no. So and for me, I was really teary because my body wasn't getting rid of liquids and stuff. So I was like really teary, and like it's almost like having a nervous breakdown or something. It's quite a horrific thing for a human being to go through, to be honest. But it's part of one of the symptoms of serious liver disease, clinical, end stage liver disease is that kind of thing. So it's not for the faint.
Yeah, that's why, like, even with my worst enemies in the world,
what, even the guy with the other guy with that channel?
I'm not mentioning that, but let's just we're not mentioning that. But no, we're not mentioning that. But I'll tell you what is even with like my worst enemies in the world, even buddies at school or something like that, I just
100%.
I don't wish it on anyone. It's horrible. It is horrible. I mean, for example, this is like, I'll show you a picture of my third.
That's a seriously unwell person.
That is me at 11 years old, and at that time, I knew what was going to happen to me at that age. I knew exactly what was going on. I knew what was going on, but I was sleeping, not eating, not drinking, like throwing up every now and again, which meant the tube throw up. So I'd have to have a new tube put down my nose. It was horrible. I can remember every single day of that, and it was unbearable. And no kid at 11 years old, no matter who you are, should ever experience that in your life.
Yeah,
it's not a nice way to go. It's seriously wrong on all levels, and this is why I do this channel, because no kid should suffer like that.
But it's almost a form of, it's quite a long word, but catharsis. It's the thing that helps you get over it and solve your problems. You're confronting it, you're talking about it and stuff like that. It's a form of counselling, isn't it? By taking this pain and this shit and then making it into something positive. That's quite a nice way to deal with it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, at the minute, I think with the lockdown is that what's worse is that you can think about it a lot more. If you're going for I'm going for fusions every week now, on a regular basis, and that's been since not last September, but the September before that it started. So it's been over a year and 6 months now, and it's it constantly like a reminder. It's like when I went in hospital on Thursday, and then they were telling me to stay in, and half of it is no, I don't want to stay in. I feel I'm okay, but half of it is I don't want to sleep. I can't sleep because I just remember everything, and it just all comes flooding back, and you just sort of go back into your hospital mode, and it's
almost like survival mode.
It is in a sense.
You've been surviving your whole life,
especially when your doctors like decide, I'm not going to listen to you, I'm going to make my own mind up what's going on, and you're like, no. talk menu. This channel is for charity. Please subscribe and like and donate, as it says here. Please donate what you can. It's for obviously to stop this happening to anyone else. I'll just give you, if anyone doesn't know what like Wilson's disease is, I'll just quickly go through it on the Liver Trust what it exactly says. And actually, I'll just share the screen so people then can go and find it themselves. But yeah, copper is a nutrient required to the body grow. It is not made from the body, but must be taken in from your diet. Fortunately, your body only requires it in small amounts, known as a trace mineral. So basically, it's like Wilson's disease is caused by a gene. This is a segment of DNA containing the instructions made on your body. All your body cells contain a gene. It gives you sort of where the symptoms is, and so it's just basically like a deficiency of copper in your system, and then obviously that leads to other symptoms on top of that.
It's not as much a deficiency as in you can't flush it. So your liver is the place that decides which minerals you're keeping and how much and what of, and so basically you eat and drink and there's a little bit of copper and everything, and instead of just flushing it out in your urine, it builds up and your body's like, okay, what am I going to do with all this copper? I'll put it in your knees, I'm going to put it in your eyes, I'm going to put it in your liver. And the liver is the thing that gets damaged and becomes scarred, like alcohol poisoning at the end of the day, cirrhosis. So
and for those people that don't know, cirrhosis is not because of alcoholism. It's basically what it stands for is liver damage. That's all it stands for. It's damage to the liver. It's not a symptom by you drinking too much or something like that. It's just literally that's all it is. It's damage to the liver itself. So, but
yeah. Whereas your thing isn't so much about.
Go on, carry on.
To me?
Yeah, carry
on. So your thing isn't as much about the cirrhosis, is it? It's to do with the veins and the portal veins and.
I can't. That one. Yes. So mine is more thrombosis in the veins and the arteries.
Right.
Basically,
cirrhosis.
Yeah, what happens is that I've had my if we go to my story, is that biliary atresia I was originally born with, which caused the damage after having a Kasai and trying to fix the problem that way. It gave the time I needed to have a transplant at 14 months old, and then 3 months later, then I caught thrombosis in the hepatic artery.
What does thrombosis mean?
Basically, it's clotting.
All right.
3 months later,
but basically, your blood clots, and then if your blood clots in the main artery, basically it's like you going to your liver. You're holding your breath, and the oxygen supply stops, and then because it's got no oxygen supply, it can't breathe. So it can't work, and the longer it's sucked away from any oxygen, like if someone doesn't get any oxygen to their brain, it immediately causes damage. And
the liver needs oxygen to function. Is that right?
Well, yeah, all the organs need oxygen to function. So it's just like we need oxygen just as breathing. So it's the way the organs as well breathe, and if it does no oxygen, none of these organs can work. So for the liver, it just causes cirrhosis straight away, and that's why they ended up having to do my second one. And obviously, this was a picture after my second one because my mum was a donor.
IP23.
Well, it's just a little kid at the time. He was 17 months old.
IP23.
And then,
How is mum? Is she all right?
yeah, she's doing fine actually. She's doing really well at the minute, but she's just worried about me all the time at the minute.
Yeah.
Because she's still my carer and my advocate. So, but yeah, and then we had that lasted for 10 years. So she likes the post that lasted the longest so far. So, and then again, they thought I was going to run out of supply maybe at some point, but then it happened again, which was just unheard of. And because it's happened again, I ended up having a third transplant, and that's where you see that picture I had. That's my third one, which is just absolutely awful. I mean, Bhargav, what do you make of that?
Oh yeah, so liver. There was some really interesting tweets out on biliary atresia, but I have a friend who came on. He's about to come on like really soon, but he needs to go at 2. So I was hoping to get to some of the drug addiction stuff real quick, if you don't mind.
Okay.
I'll have them.
Sure. Yeah, we can continue with the rest of that part later. So yeah, obviously, I'm sure Joseph, you might know the DMX, the rapper died from drug addiction.
He did.
And yeah, we wanted to just sort of raise the issue about drug addiction. I mean, I still struggle sometimes with my opiates. I remember one time trying to come off them and being addicted to them, and it was a real struggle to come off them.
Yeah.
Now it's probably more needed because I'm always going to have some sort of pain, but it can be easily addictive and can be a problem for some people because they just have that addictive nature. I mean, yeah, Bhargav, what do you want to say on that?
Yeah, so I have a friend coming, and he works on I met him in St. Petersburg when I spent time in West Florida. And at that time, I had the pleasure of meeting Chris. He's about to come on. And he works part of like the drug addiction management team. So I wanted him to bring him on stream so we can talk about just like the pitfalls of this. Obviously, the DMX death just happened recently, and obviously there's various views on like drug addiction, and I want to like raise awareness on this because it can really help someone's life. Because some people. The reasons why people get into these situations, what people can actually do, and like and then I'm gonna put I'm gonna put in the links for people where they can seek help. So,
yeah.
So is
Chris now.
Chris,
how
yeah.
are you, my friend Chris?
Hey, how you doing?
Thanks for coming on and being part of SFeatleyTV. Yeah, with mention about drug addiction and Bhargav, just give a sort of a nice introduction into for yourself. Yeah, so just explain to us what you do in terms of helping with drug addiction and stuff.
Sure. So I work in the mental health field, and so I generally work with a lot of like psychiatric patients. The hospital where we're at is it really deals with psychiatric disorders directly. We don't deal with we're not like a substance use treatment center, but at the same time, we have a lot of patients coming through our doors where they kind of have comorbid substance use disorders. A lot of patients dealing with alcohol as well as drug abuse, addiction, and that's certainly something that we come across a lot, and we work with those patients.
I think the question I'd ask is that I have to take opiate painkillers a lot because of the treatment I have and still have currently. And I was wondering, do you still also have patients that have problems with opiate sort of painkiller addictions?
Yeah, I mean, I think opiate, we kind of, in psychiatry, we kind of talk about like opiate use disorder. Definitely a lot of patients that are coming in that are dealing with that or have dealt with that in the past. There's a lot of treatment options as far as both both done with like therapy to kind of treat that as well as medications. We have medications that kind of mimic opiates to some degree, but they're a lot less, potent. So medications like Suboxone, where it kind of gives a little bit of the effect of the opiates, but at the same time, not giving that really strong effect from kind of the street opiates, as well as medications that can kind of help prevent any effect from the opiates and kind of can block those, so that even if someone ends up relapsing later on, those drugs aren't going to have the same effect that they otherwise would have.
So one question I have is, like people always talk about, like why does this come about? And some people, the reason people don't like talking about this issue is people like nowadays mental health has become like one source of one topic where people have weaponized in some ways, where they find out somebody has a problem, they'll start like labeling them in a certain way. But the big thing is, like I think have you seen people? We've talked about this before. We've seen like various types of people getting addicted, right? Like, I mean, nurses that have come off surgery. I think you also said maybe there's a lot of people that get into these situations after like a weekend bender. I guess that's what they call it in the UK. Is that pretty much what the case? Like, it can happen to pretty much anybody, just based on circumstances, or?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think, I agree with you that there's definitely a lot of stigma associated with like mental health, as well as with like substance use, and people have like certain like stereotypes, and certain, beliefs about people that, if they use, they must be like, a certain, some sort of stereotypes they have in their mind, but that's not really true. It is true that, certainly like, anyone has the potential, to become addicted to opiates. I mean, some people are more biologically predisposed than others. But a lot of times you're not really going to know that until that person starts using opiates, whether they have that kind of increased risk of being addicted. And we've seen that a lot. Just talking about medicine in general, right? There's this history of where pain was seen as this thing that should be like treated very aggressively in hospitals, and like doctors and other medical professionals were really encouraged to kind of push pain medications, including opiates, as much as possible. And there's a lot of patients that were, unexpectedly became addicted to the medications, even when they, and oftentimes like the doctors and other, health professionals thought that they were acting in the patient's best interest.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I would ask, and unfortunately, we got him back, but yeah, I would ask is that obviously with me and Joseph being liver patients, and being on the adult side, we probably see a fair few people that have had alcohol abuse problems, and as much as obviously I think the most famous liver patient before would be George Best, and I've always sort of, as much as it sort of hurts me that obviously being as a child and growing up with it and seeing kids that are suffering at weeks old, I've always been one that, like, I would want to see if you're going to do. I'm always one of that. If you've put yourself in that situation, you could have one chance to prove it. To sort of like you get probably maybe one more chance to prove everyone that you can beat the addiction or something like that. But then something like George Best, where it's happened twice and then they've done it again and they've had to require another transplant on top, is where that, for me, I draw the line, because being as a kid, as a patient, there's so many kids up there that need it, and probably deserve it more than other people with those sort of addictions.
Stephen, one thing I'd say about George Best is that he had the media, he probably had pressures on him. I'm not an advocate of George Best by any stretch of the imagination, but he probably had pressures on him and his sort of persona, that we couldn't even imagine. He's a global icon.
I understand.
I still think it's unfair, because we've got this insight into kids with liver disease, children with liver disease, people that aren't getting organs. So we can say, well, hang on a sec, that's unfair. But he probably comes from a situation where he's been poor drinks his whole life. He gets drinks for free.
Yeah.
So it's it's hard to judge sometimes. But listen, I've got to go, Stephen. So I appreciate being part of your broadcast today, and hopefully I'll get to be a part of another one soon.
Yeah, definitely. Anytime that you've got time, please come on
Yeah,
and
we'll do. All right.
See you,
yeah,
Chris.
it's great to
Guys.
see you, mate. Great to
I
see
mean,
you. Take
to,
care.
to
Take
go
care.
off of
Andrew, Chris.
I'd like to wait. I'd like to make one point on that, like what Joseph
Yeah.
just said. He's just like, for people who obviously who haven't had like childhood like liver disease or something like that, something to that extent. What he just said was like environmentally, there's a lot of triggers that also can put people in addiction. Like he
Yeah,
said, George Best could be, he's in an environment where he's getting drinks thrown at him, so he's more likely in that sense to use the to become addicted. So I think that's kind of the point he was making. So I like to I kind of agree with that.
Of
Yeah.
course. All right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks,
thanks, mate.
guys.
See you. Speak to you
Take
soon.
care.
Bye.
See ya.
I mean, so one of the things that's the big thing is I think one of the reasons I actually wanted to do this stream is not to like talk, obviously to discuss like it can happen to a lot of people, but also what it actually does. I think some people, it's hard for them to get aware that the drugs are killing them, if that makes sense. They're warped up in like they're warped up in this lifestyle that it's just normalized, and they don't realize like it's killing their bodies on the inside. Am I right, Chris? In that regard, like it does a lot of damage to like the organs inside your body, like drugs wise.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you kind of, I guess, break it down in different kinds of drugs, but I mean, we'll go back to opiates, right? Like, obviously, one of the biggest issues with opiates, right, is that we're getting more, stronger and stronger forms of like synthetic opiates, kind of man-made opiates. Like fentanyl is kind of a huge epidemic at this point of people where they might not even be realizing that they're, injecting fentanyl because they're
Fentanyl's a
mixing it with
very,
other
very
substances.
strong
They
one.
end up
It's really
injecting too much at
deadly.
one time. And so there's a lot of overdose-related deaths related to that have really been increasing over the last few years. So obviously that's an extreme form of death, and even if it's the drug use doesn't lead to that degree, obviously one of the issues with drug use is it become increasingly an issue as far as impairing your life, right? So as far as involving the ability to socialize with other people, affecting work, affecting as Argyle was saying in terms of like just your physical health, over time, this kind of like chronic use can really cause a lot of detriment as far as your future. That's certainly true of alcohol use as well. We see it a lot in the hospital where people they go on benders and things like that, come in pretty drunk, but it can lead to a lot of both like mental consequences as far as like affecting like cognition and affecting can affect things like just even being able to like walk long term and having neurological damage. Obviously affecting your organs long term. So there's like a lot of negative effects from long-term use, and it's kind of easy to go down a path where once you start, before you know it, you're losing more and more. It becomes more and more of an issue.
Yeah, I remember being on fentanyl in hospital, and that's probably more. I'm on oxycodone right now, and I feel that fentanyl was far worse.
Yeah.
Try and come off than oxycodone. That's really sort of evil in that sense. And yeah, obviously, I feel that I may be wrong on this, but I think that like your body's not really there it's not really designed to have any sort of medication put in the system. And because obviously there's going to be symptoms for maybe sort of medication you take.
Right.
But yeah, when it comes, I forgot the point. I was trying to make. I think with sort of drug addiction as well is I think sometimes when people might not also understand. Yeah, people might not also understand not just the damage they might do on the inside to them or to themselves. It's more the damage they do to people around them. So say like they're on. You see. I remember when I saw Jeremy Carr. You saw the people that come on. They've had alcohol abuse. They've had serious like heroin and drug abuse and that. But it's not just them they're affecting; it's the family around them, right? So it's like when I've not been well, it's not just affected me, right? My liver disease, It's affected my mum. It's affected my sister as well deeply. And that's the thing. It causes additional hurt to the family and to your friends. And I think is that they don't realise that in a sense. And I wonder if that's something you try and make them aware of.
Yeah, so I think Stephen, you just hit it on the head is with medicine. I think what you're trying to say is your bodies might not be made for medicine, but it's to like help you cope in some ways. But the problem is like when people use it for when it's not necessary, that it can become a problem. But I think what you're saying is what you are spot on the fact that it causes physical damage, but also psychological damage in some ways. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, on this. I think one of Drake Lamar had a famous lyric in one of his songs. Some people use it. So I forget the lyric. It's some people like the way it feels, and some people use it to kill their sorrows. So there's like a psychological side of drug addiction. You want to talk a little bit about that, Chris? Actually.
Sure. I would first I'd say like I agree with all of that, and I do think that when you talk about like people trying to like overcome either any sort of substance use, that has to be a personal choice, right? The person, you can throw meds or throw therapy or throw whatever at that person as much as you want, but until that person's in a place where they're making that decision to change, long term that's not going to work, right? And so I think one of the ways in which someone might be more willing to change is that realization, right? The fact that what they're doing is harming not only themselves, but harming their friends, it's harming their family, it's having a lot of like negative effects on people they care about. I think you'll find that a lot of people, when as they have a greater realization of who they're harming, that may be more of a reason for them to want to change. But yes, all substance use definitely has a lot of we talk about as far as like addiction, right? We talk about both like psychological addiction as well as a physical addiction, right? Whereas with some substances, it's like the more you use it, the more your body kind of gets used to it. And your body almost just needs it in order to just kind of continuing functioning, right? And it's very like physiological, like that's just the biology of your body becomes addicted to the substances. Versus there's other substances where you might not become like physically addicted to it, but you still become like mentally addicted to it, to where the substances become more important to you than anything else. And so that drive to just go back and continue using becomes the only thing that's important to you. And so there's a lot of
I mean, it's not just killing your health. It's not just killing your health on the inside. It's also killing your family members that have to see you go through it, probably. And it, like, financially, it's probably a big factor, probably a big loss too, in that sense. I've seen people like I think for me, I've had a couple of friends deal with this, and thankfully they got help at the right time. But like what ended up happening is their parents had to like mortgage their houses just to pay for their like rehab and stuff, and it becomes a really big issue.
Right. It's one of the things that's really hard to see.
Is that in America? That is.
It can be, I mean, but it can be anywhere.
Here,
it can be anywhere.
they would. I mean, the NHS would sort that. I mean, specialist centres. I'm not sure, but private specialist centres you may have to sort of help pay, but in terms of maybe the NHS, they could help out as well. In terms of and that's as much as say is about the NHS. They're just
fantastic.
I mean, it's and trust me, don't get me wrong. When I go in there are so many problems with it. I do moan a lot about it, but honest to God, it's probably the best health service you could ever that there is in the world. I mean, you look at me. Where else would you find someone that's had 6 transplants and been able to find a health system that's first going to do it for you and first going to be able to afford it for? You wouldn't. So that's where I'm so lucky to be born where I am. So Chris, I wonder what you wanted to sort of what do you think towards about like sort of the NHS and how they help with all sort of drug abuse and stuff like that?
So I mean, I'm in the U.S., so I don't know as much about the NHS, but just from what you're saying, I think that's fantastic, right? I think the fact that they're dedicating, resources and, where that's something where you can go ahead and get treatment, for people who are deciding they want to do that for any sort of like substance use. I think that's a fantastic thing to do, because there's a lot of, again, we talk about the fact that, substance use doesn't only affect the person, it affects the people around them, right? Like just as society as a whole, substance use can have, huge detrimental impact to a lot of people outside of, that person themselves. And so it makes sense that, society should be doing everything they can to kind of help, treat, that substance use and kind of help not only that person, but just kind of help society as a large, by addressing those issues. Here in the U.S., I would say, there is a lot of like inpatient treatment centers that are like only private pay, and unfortunately limiting kind of resources people can get. I would say that it does vary by the community, though. Probably more in the more recent years, there has been increased push to have some sort of resources going towards, inpatient treatment centers, hospitals, other aspects of where, patients and people can just have increased access to kind of substance treatment. And so it's kind of good to see that, there is more community resources available, regardless of a person's ability to pay for it.
And then I guess like one thing is, what do you actually get in treatment? I think some people are like hesitant to like go until it's too late. And I think, is it a combo of like they clean up pretty much like your entire system, and then, but obviously doctors can't, I don't think doctors can be like your support system, right? Sometimes you have to change your environment to like completely get rid of addiction, right? Because I think if the triggers are there, whatever it is, like your friends are partying, your whatever, like whatever.
I would have
So
to
what-
say, I think with Bargav is that it's not, I would say with that, it's just with drug sort of that I think also people are just sort of, and maybe some of them they do want to change, it's just they're so, I mean, I've experienced withdrawal coming off oxycodone one the first time I was on them. It's horrible. I mean, when I ran out, but when I first came off them, I actually ran out during a holiday, and I had no replacements. So you got to find a replacement for it, and there was no replacement there. So I had literally only codeine to take, and what was left were about 2 or 4, 6 or 8 or 10, and honestly, I took all of them and not one bit of difference made. I couldn't sleep for 2 days straight. 2 days straight, which is bad enough when you go to my auntie Linda's. But it got to a point where I said, "Mum, I know some medication that might knock me out. Get me home, and then we'll go to a doctor." So they took us home. I took something that was a bit stronger, and I woke up, finally got some sleep, and woke up the next morning. So it's more they were might be scared of the trying to beat it by the withdrawals and the stuff they might have to go through to get rid of it.
You're right, and I think that is something you find with a lot of people are scared of those kind of withdrawal symptoms, and obviously they're extremely unpleasant, and that affects people's willingness to kind of participate in kind of getting off the substances, knowing that's going to come on. But in a controlled setting like an inpatient substance treatment center, there are a lot of tools we have both to treat the symptoms of withdrawal, as well as things like doing something like, again, like Suboxone treatment, where we have a medication that's going to give some of the effect of the other opiates, but not the full effect. In that case, you can kind of treat the withdrawal symptoms in a sense that you kind of bring things gradually. And so instead of going from having all of the effects of opiates to no effects of opiates, you're going from having all the effects to some effects. And so you're kind of able to kind of taper down in a way that's a lot more pleasant, and it's going to cause less issues. In addition to, like I said, we have like medical medications that can treat those, the withdrawal symptoms directly. And so we have different ways to kind of help that withdrawal process be a lot more pleasant.
Anything else, Bargav?
No, that's amazing, man. I mean, I'm glad I know that, I want to get you on because, I mean, this is, obviously we, DMX just passed away. a big where drugs played a big part. I would like to. The reason I wanted to talk about this is because some people just aren't aware of this stuff, and the biggest takeaway I wanted people to have is get some help if it's really affecting your life, like you're losing your spouses, it's affecting your mental train of thought and stuff like. There's definitely like help out there, and please do it so that I don't. Lately, I mean, with COVID, one of the biggest things is I've just learned to appreciate other people, whoever it is, and if I can at least talk about it, maybe some people can act on it and just be safe. One last thing I wanted to say on the biliary atresia that you bought, that the original part of the stream. In the U.S., like the cost of these, a lot of a big cost of the transplants and stuff, the Kasai procedures and stuff, it is insane. And so helping out the Children's Liver Disease Foundation is like massive, because now with COVID, a lot of the funds are like getting, people are they're struggling to find funds, and children being born, it could really help them, and that's one of the big reasons I come on charity streams like this.
Yeah, literally what I'm doing now is I've just put a load of different helplines, websites you can contact if there are people that are struggling with it. You can contact these helplines. So literally I'm just gonna go back to follow this on YouTube itself, and pin it up in the chat. Just give me a sec. I'm just gonna pin it up. Right, there you go. So I just pinned that up in the chat. So if people do want to go find those lines, I think, with biliary atresia, I mean, I know for Americans, if you don't pay for it, I think even in America they don't do for biliary atresia, they don't do the Kasai operation because they don't believe in it. They believe in just going straight to transplant because they don't think it works. In my experience, it does, because I've had it, and they've had to do that because of to give me the time I need to build up for a transplant. But for this is why, again, sort of raise money for children's liver disease. It's more for respite and research, rather than sort of going abroad and having, because obviously this is a UK-based charity. It is a small UK-based charity, if you know what I mean. So it supports mainly sort of liver disease with children in the UK. But anyone that does come from abroad to the UK to have transplants in either Leeds, Birmingham, or Kings, right, they will get in contact with those people, and they will talk to them and offer them advice, go and ask them to check their website, go and give them like daily sort of respite and sort of communication to help deal with their troubles, their symptoms. That's why they've now started the Facebook group, like this Hive Network Facebook group, because this Hive Network Facebook group they have is children, young adults being able to talk from wherever they are in the world, be able to talk to each other about their liver diseases. So,
Steven, can you share my screen really quickly? I just want to put this out there also. And this is one of the big reasons I come on Steven's channel, just to talk about this stuff, because a lot of the stuff that he shares.
Where does this come from?
This is a tweet that I had in CLDF, and so this was one of the big reasons I came on this channel, is because you've been at it all year trying to raise funds for this, and your zeal, fervor, and passion for it have been immense. And I hope we can continue doing the same as on the charity front. in raising awareness for this.
This is why
Chris,
also
I don't
people
know.
need to subscribe.
I
Because
don't
if
know. I
people
don't.
subscribe, sorry, I was just wondering. This is
Yeah.
why people need to subscribe, because if we get to 1K, we can send every single penny we make to the charity to increase the donations.
And one thing, Chris, I don't know if you know a lot about biliary atresia, but I did link you Steven's story and stuff like so. I just wanted to talk about this real quickly before we wrap this up. The actual costs are, so in the U.S. it's about in the first year of life is about $17,500 to $20,000. Whereas like the transplantation can cost about $225,000. And so a lot of the people can't cover it themselves. So organizations such as this, what Steven does over there and over in the U.S., they help people who grow up with these conditions. And so that's what I want to say. That's what I want to leave people with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say that, but the thing, I mean, obviously, the thing I was, I will try and just sort of finish. I mean, I'll wrap it up with my story.
Yeah.
Is that, as I said, I was at third. Sorry. Yeah. I'm just going to quietly go through the comments. Yeah, guys. Steven, so proud of you for the strength you are showing right now. Given your condition, keeping your chin up, my friend. We are right behind you, bro. Yes. No matter what happens, guys. And yes, I'm going to mimic and comment from and quote from my idol, Lewis Hamilton. Still, I rise. No matter what's going on in your life, no matter what or whoever is getting you down, still, I rise. You will rise up. And you will carry on. No matter what. So, yeah. Hey, guys. I lost my friend to suicide. Drug addiction played a lot part. People need to understand prescription medications. Yeah, definitely. Absolutely interesting discussion. Still, apparently, there will be half of the fan. We're not worried about that for a minute. And obviously, there's some of the helplines there. Yeah, that's only some of them. But yeah, I'll say some of them. I'll put them in the comments below afterwards. But yeah, what I will say with I'm just gonna wrap this up with my story is girls that I got to the third transplant, got that sorted in the end. I mean, this is after the third, which is yeah, you could tell from there to that how the colours changed already. I was from there, from where I really went in, I was a day away from brain damage because the level was so high. We then got to that last, then I had this problem with albumin, and we didn't know what it was for about 7 years, doing all sorts of tests. We then realised it was because of sort of the similar problem I've got now, which was a vein had clotted and it was causing pressure on the lymphatic system, which where the albumin is, and it leaks it through the gut. But unfortunately, that time it was so bad, it was doing it at an alarming rate. It was to the point I was having infusions twice a day, and my face was swollen all the time. It was literally swollen, and if I'd lie down, I couldn't do that. I couldn't barely open my eyes because it was that swelling. We ended up doing a fourth one in the end. I mean, like, this is like just some of the pictures during that time. I mean, she was teaching me maths at school. It was beautiful. Yeah. We then, the fourth transplant happened. 19 days I was out. It was like a miracle. It just went. They weren't even sure if it worked. Half of them weren't sure it would work, but it worked like a treat. And 3 years were beautiful, doing this, that, and all the other. Then sort of one of the veins started narrowing and causing the spleen a bit of problems. So we thought we'll just divert blood flow around it, sort of a rec shunt sort of procedure they do, and we'll get rid of it during the summer, and I'll be ready for university. That went terribly well. The initial actual procedure, sorry, went well, but then the liver, like we just explained earlier with hepatic artery, it did it again. Collapsed overnight, that artery, and killed the liver stone dead. If someone wasn't having an O+ transplant at the time, I would have been in serious trouble. Serious trouble. Maybe even death. So yeah, we ended up doing that, and then that perforated my stomach, which then meant I had 8 weeks of not eating or drinking because they didn't pick it up for 3 weeks. So they couldn't do, all they could do was glue it. So this meant I couldn't eat or drink for 8 weeks straight, not a drop, and which was awful. Just some of the other stuff I've had is just all the lines I've had, which meant all the veins here are ceased and desisted. We then did eventually a 6th transplant that caused in the end a 6th transplant because the hepatic artery, after we were waiting for this stomach to fix itself, the hepatic artery collapsed again, and we rushed to get it fixed straight away. But because it caused so much damage, in the end I needed a transplant. I mean, this was my sister after visit. She spent about 3 months in university, and then she came to see us. And you could tell, look, just like I'm already really weak. You can see all the difference between the two of us. And yeah, but we ended up having a 6th transplant in the end. And that went well. I mean, that's me afterwards. Right. Chilling with my PS4 and my sister. And yeah, and things were great. I was going football, I was doing this, I was doing that, and then going to university. And then again, just the portal vein this time from both. But because I've got no access anywhere now to do surgery, they can't fix it. So unless it fixes itself, which with every single day, it's less likely going to happen, it's not going to change. And I'm going to have infusions every week. And I'm going to have whatever else it is to keep me stable. I mean, we were just in hospital on Thursday, weren't we, Barker? Weren't we?
Yeah, man. I mean, I've seen you all year, man. So obviously, I know that. We absolutely love you raising awareness on this. I mean, I love and I love coming on here when I can to like raise these issues. Because things like this definitely save people's lives, and sometimes even with the drug addiction stream, you can give someone the awareness to go get help, and that's the biggest reason I come here. And this is my favorite stream of the week, so appreciate it so much. Again, thank you for having me on that regard.
Most important one, man. This one is I could give a fuck. Do you know what? I don't care if I had to do.
David, don't swear,
man.
Sorry, I'm sorry. If I had to do this one if this is the only one I did every week,
yeah,
this would be the only one I do.
Thanks, Chris. I want to say thank you for coming on, my friend. Really, really great show. That was really interesting. I was just tidying up after tea in the background, but I had my headphones on, listening to every single word, and it was great. So thanks very much, mate, for coming on. Appreciate it. Stephen,
I appreciate you having me on here. I think what you're all doing here is really fantastic, and I think it's really amazing. How much support and how much.
I'm bringing. By the way, me and Chris have this thing that we're gonna meet at the F1 Grand Prix when it finally happens. So
that's right.
Yeah,
he's been talking to me about the St. Petersburg Grand Prix, but I'm like, I can't make it right now, but we'll see. We'll be in touch, man. We'll be in touch for sure.
That's great. So thank you guys. I think it's fantastic.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Great guest, Bag Up. Good man. Great
Yeah, man,
guest.
yeah. He's Chris is a wonderful guy. I mean, he's done a lot, and yeah, I've been telling him for weeks about this, and he said like, I finally have time. So if you want, like, and it was like it worked out right timing wise. So
Stephen.
yes, I mean,
cool.
thank you again. Thanks again, man. Like, this is a tremendous platform to have. I mean, that's the reason I support this channel. I mean, I absolutely love the charity aspect and just raising awareness, man. These are things people don't talk about. So again,
Yeah.
appreciate it.
No, this is the thing. I mean, on the drug addiction side of things was really interesting, and it's a the natural reaction of the body, of the dependency to certain substances. This is why when you see people who see people who are addicted to heroin, or mainly heroin, let's have it right, mainly heroin or crack, and slate them and just sort of kick them to the curb and all the rest of it, and you think, wait a minute. How do you know how you would feel if you was unfortunate enough to end up addicted to something like this?
Yeah.
Thinking that you wasn't going to, and then before you know it, you're in a really, really bad place. Yeah, or, whatever it be, you can't judge people. We're not just because somebody is in a specific situation at that time in their life. You can't judge them just because of that one moment that they're in. You can't do that. It's not fair. And anybody with a sound mind and a good heart wouldn't do that. You would go, okay, let's look. What's your story? Tell me your story.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we've all got a story. Whatever that story be. And sometimes you have to listen to that story. I mean, like you, Bagab, as well. When I first sort of found Stephen, and I looked at his channel, I thought, oh, what is this? What is this channel? So I looked at his channel and I thought, wow. I looked at, and when I found about his story, I was like blown away, mate, because I'm like, shit, you've had what? 6 liver transplants, 18 procedures. I've seen his scars, and I've got a scar down my chest from when I had heart surgery. And I tell you something, it makes my scar look like a scratch, the scars that this kid's got. And I couldn't believe it. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to do everything I can now to help you out, mate. And that's why I give up my time to do everything I do for Stephen, because he's a great lad. He's funny. He's doing a great thing for his charity, and that's why I'll give up my time to help him out, because I'm hoping that I'm sort of helping him achieve his goal of being able to make donations to the charity. I mean, look at that, Jesus Christ, look at it. I mean, what Stephen, I remember those tubes. I remember the drains, mate. I had 2 drains like that, and they are awful. They're awful. I remember when the nurse, when she pulled them out, she said to me, right. I said, oh, what are these doing in me here? And she said, oh no, I'm going to sort that out right now. And I said, oh, what do you mean you're going to sort it out? And I watched the clip, the stitch when it was stitched in, and she said, oh, if you just look over that way for me for a second, to my left, and I looked, and as I looked, she just whipped it out. Oh mate, it was awful. And then all this like pink liquid just like oozing out all over me, and I'm like, I felt like I'd been stabbed.
You wimp.
Yeah, but mate, I'd never had it before. You'd had it before.
For people who haven't had those experiences, those are like,
tube up my nose. That's worse, mate. Fuck me.
Hey, don't get me wrong. I mean, there's some experiences out there that people haven't had yet either, so they're not used to it. That
taking the tube
having
out,
like a tube like put in you is like, not everybody wants to be like poked,
The intubator one's a fucking awful one.
Which one? Intubation?
The intubator.
Yeah, I heard like I keep hearing about the NG tube being really bad. That's the other one.
That's the worst. Oh my god.
Yeah. So I mean,
that's just.
So I mean, there's a lot. There's definitely like and these are stuff I'm learning on these streams. So it's pretty kind of cool. Again, best stream of the week. This is for me the most important stream of the week. I mean, I could care. I love the football stuff. Don't get me wrong. PSG Bayern today, but like at the same time, like these streams are like they make you appreciate life, and I genuinely love these for that reason, and or expose you to things that some of the stuff some people wouldn't be aware of. So glad to have. Thanks again for having me on, man. I'll see if I can make them. I'm about to like go to Michigan, and well, I have to like. It depends. I mean, it depends on where my life is going, but like, there's stuff I have to like take care of personally. But I'll see what I can. I'll definitely try to make time for this one every week. So thank you.
Right, man.
Cool, man.
Should we end it there?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Thanks for everyone in the chat who's been watching and
Yeah.
stuff. Appreciate it, showing your supports for Stephen and his charity and stuff like that. So, yeah, thanks a lot.
Please
Appreciate it.
do hit the like button, hit the share button, share it on Twitter, your Instagram, your Facebook. Do hit the subscribe button. Yeah, I mean, this is life. I mean, enjoy it.
Well, yeah, let me just. I want to add to that.
Enjoy your life, right? While you enjoy your health, while you have it, man.
I'll just say, Stephen, I'll add to that, and I'll just say that I was literally like, at any moment, I was totally unaware that at any moment I could have, my main artery for my heart could have just split, and I was totally unaware of it, totally unaware. And it was only by accident that I actually found out that I had this problem, but it could have tore at any moment, and if it had done, I would have been gone. I would have had literally 5 minutes to get into surgery. Otherwise, that's it done. And I had no idea.
I mean, that's
no
why
idea
we just
whatsoever.
Appreciate it, because you never know when it will take it away from you.
No, this is the thing. So you have to,
And
you know, like
it can be taken away with you just like that.
Yeah, just like that. And it's, you know, it's a scary thought. But you know what? This is why I do what I do. This is why I do what I do. Which is why I created the Rise thing, because with all this stuff that's going on surrounding the abuse and everything else, you know, I just thought, you know what? I might not have been here. I might not have been here. So whilst now I am here, I'm going to try and make a difference. You know, whether it's making much of a difference, I don't know. But at the end of the day, I'm trying. That's all I can do is try. You know.
No. I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, I think the biggest thing I got from that, I think, you know, everybody's. It's hard to be passionate about everything because some things affect you more deeper than others. Yeah. So everybody has like some cause, and Stephen's is obviously like childhood liver disease. For me, there's education and stuff like stuff in education. You can't always support everyone's cause, obviously, but like to the extent that they do. But the thing is, there's things you can do in showing support. I mean, you gotta love like the fervor some people have on things. Sometimes it's about just picking the one that you're most passionate about and just pursuing it, I think.
Well, I want to say as well, also, anybody who's listening, I want to say, my heart is up. My heart. I'm a good person, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to. I never do anything bad to anybody. I wouldn't say anything bad about anybody, right? And I want to. My heart is always open to anybody who wants to come in and you know, even just talk. If there's anybody listening who wants to talk, just DM me. Simple. Just DM me. My heart's open. Stephen's heart is open. All our hearts are open to talking. That's all I'll say. That's all I want to say. That's it. Simple as that. But Stephen, man, keep your chin up, my friend. Keep
your chin up. Come on, man. Keep your chin up.
I can't see your chin, mate. I can't see your chin. I want to see that chin.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
For doing what you're doing.
Yeah, mate. Come on. Cool. You're all right, mate. You're doing a great job, and you're so close now. You know, you're so close. We had a bit of a wobble with the sub count. I think YouTube had a bit of a. I think it's got epilepsy. I think YouTube has got.
And don't worry about that. Like, don't worry about that. Like, just do what you're doing. Like, smashing the content. People will see the passion you have for life. That's the most important part.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, all these like other people. I mean, this is such a good cause. I stand behind that completely. So.
Yeah, of course, without doubt. And once you do hit that mark and you get to that monetization, you know, then I also want to add as well that, you know, it's all linked directly to the charity, so it's cool. It's cool. But if you want to end it there, Stephen, mate, then it's cool.
Yeah, it is.
Thanks, guys. I'll see you guys next time.
Hang on, it is. Look. Oh God, thanks.
Oh, don't give us the wheel of uncertainty, Stephen. Come on. Oh, yeah. So at 1464.
We need to get to 2,000 by the end of the year.
Yeah.
See, this is my
You know
whole
what?
story there. It's there. It goes straight to
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And most importantly, I definitely want to give Chris. Obviously, we had Chris on, and he raised. I think
And Joe.
definitely please get help if you do have like I mean I know COVID's hard on everybody. There's a lot of drug abuse that's gone up. There's a lot of things like depression that have gone up. And please, like if you can like do get some help. We want to see everybody live the best life possible. So there you go. I'll leave it there.
Enjoy your
Yeah.
life. There's no need for
Yeah.
hate. There's no need for it.
It's cool, man. Okay, so let's end it this week.
Yeah, we all end it there, man. But yeah, thanks to Joe as well.
Yeah, thanks for that guest that came on. Yeah, Chris Paul, big up Chris Paul.
Yeah, no, I'll talk to Chris. I mean, I'll talk to Chris. I mean, hopefully F1 wise, he'll be back one day. Maybe we can see.
Well,
It's his first year learning.
I mean,
I've been showing a lot of the people.
Sorry, talk. I had to move things around.
Yeah.
The guy.
No, you caught me by surprise with that one, mate.
Yeah,
I couldn't do anything about it, unfortunately.
Well, send us one anyway, and then
yeah, I'll sort it out.
Put it on the front of it, so if people
yeah,
watch
cool.
It's
cool. I mean, sometimes we might be late with the thumbnails if Stephen decides he's going to alter the schedule.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry I had to because there was no fans. So,
yeah, no, it's cool.
And
don't worry
plus,
about it, mate.
Checker Flag Show will not be Wednesday. It will be Friday.
Yeah.
Because that's when DNM F1 will be back, and 1892 Red Podcast will be back on the rest of you on Monday. So there you go.
Looking forward to that.
And apparently Mark Halsey has confirmed the 19th next week for Monday.
Oh, perfect.
Excellent.
Cool. All right, man.
But yeah, thanks for everyone who's tuned in. Do smash the like button.
Yeah.
Do hit the subscribe button because, like we said, we get to 1K, all money goes to charity from monetization. So do it. So yeah, and we'll speak to you, and we'll see you guys in about 20 minutes for the watch along. Until then,
football.
Yeah, back football.
Yeah, I'm excited for that game. So
stay well. Bye bye.
Ciao.
good stream.
Sorry.